What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time, and I'll be honest right up front, I'm not sure how well it's going to work out because it's friggin' freezing here today.
Hoodie.
Jeez, hooray. We got the draggy out, and we're going to do some testing today. Just based on how the car feels in the different driving modes, we can only assume that the car is faster 0 to 60 in sport mode than it is in standard. So that's what I want to test today. We might test out personal mode as well to see if there's any difference there whatsoever. By the way, if you guys are watching and it is not yet December 27th, 2020, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and following along on Instagram for a chance to win one of these draggy devices for your own personal use, as well as a 4-panel LED garage light from myself, and then partnered with Jalisco's Carbon Fiber from Instagram. He's giving away an M-style carbon fiber spoiler for the G or the Q platform, or the opportunity to have $100 off one of his custom steering wheels. So pretty badass giveaway coming up. Again, that's December 27th, 2020. If it's not yet that date, hit subscribe right now. Go over to Instagram and check us both out. So in order to keep these tests as consistent as possible, we're going to leave traction control on and we're going to run the car in automatic. And we're just gonna send it. I know we're gonna break traction, but we're just gonna go for it and try to, again, keep the tests as consistent as possible to see if there is indeed a difference between sport mode and standard mode. And again, we'll throw in some personal mode runs as well, because of course that turns that active trace control off, which is the back brakes, using the rear brakes to stabilize the car. So let's see what happens. All right, first run, standard mode, traction control on, running in automatic. Let's go.
Hoodie.
Well, obviously there was a bunch of spinning right at the beginning. Traction control was really kicking in. So not a very fast run whatsoever, but let's take a look at this and see. It's the first time actually playing it back and seeing it here. Standard mode, traction control off or on, automatic. So right away, power was cut. 60 foot was about 2.59, 0 to 60, 5.63 seconds. Valid or invalid doesn't really matter, because the purpose was seeing a difference between both standard and sport modes. So whether it's uphill, downhill, or level doesn't really matter. We're trying to find the delta between the two. So 28 degrees Fahrenheit, 850 feet of altitude, negative 306 DA. I have to say, ripping this car, these few runs here, it felt like it had a ton of power. Although we were breaking loose, it really felt snappy and peppy. So a lot to be said about that really cool air, even for a naturally aspirated vehicle. But not super impressive, 5.63. I guess considering so much power was cut and we spun so much, even with traction control on, 5.6, I mean, it is what it is. So let's check the next one. All right, just regular sport mode. Not even worth analyzing this one. No grip whatsoever. Jeez, hooray. Now we're in personal mode here. You could really hear the computer pulling the power back early on in this run. So now for this one, this was personal mode. So sport mode with active trace control off. Again, traction control on, automatic, and let's see. Power was being cut like crazy right off the bat. 2.47, 60 foot, 5.45, 0 to 60, still 28 degrees. I mean, it was crazy watching the tack, just having it pinned to the floor. It was just constantly fighting for that first full second. It felt like it just wanted to break loose. So the car was fighting it big time. It kills us. So we'll try a couple more. Now for this second set of runs, did it the same way, automatic, traction control on, but we got about 20 degrees warm, 15 degrees warmer. It's 43 degrees at this point. So let's try the first one, standard mode, automatic. Standard mode, automatic. started to break loose. I did feather it. 2.540 to 60 foot. 5.68 0 to 60. So still not super fast. And we're just breaking loose, so it's really tough. What I'm finding is we can't necessarily look at our 60 foot time because that's nonsense with just all the traction control taking over. But that, the second part of the pull is what we can really analyze. So the full 0 to 60 sort of tells the story a little bit better. So 0 to 30, 2.89, and then from 30 to 60, it was 2.25 from 30 to 60, 2.25 seconds. Traction control on, automatic, personal mode. Again, tons of power being pulled out of this point. You can hear it. 2.54 60 foot and a 5.64 0 to 60. It's crazy that those second two runs were actually the exact same from 60 foot perspective. 2.54 seconds in 60 foot. I suppose that makes sense because traction control works. There's a slight bit of difference in 0 to 60, which could be, you could attribute to a number of different things, including how much traction control actually takes over in the two poles. I can definitely tell that in sport mode, it seems to take off much harder. It really wants to turn the wheels hard, and even after traction control starts to give away, it really wants to pull harder again. So you can hear it even in the RPM kind of constantly fighting. Standard mode now. Back in personal mode.
Hoodie. 60.
Sport personal feels way stronger. We'll take a look at the numbers and see. Well, what did we learn from our little experiment here? A couple of things, actually. Number one is that the difference between sport mode and personal mode with active trace control off is negligible, if any, at all. The other thing is that there is a pretty serious difference between sport mode and standard mode. However, traction control is a pretty significant equalizer. With that being said, in sport mode, you could literally feel the car fighting itself. Traction control was trying to work, but the car was trying to push through it all the way up until the point that it actually did gain traction. And when it did, you could feel the power is more substantial from a dig. You could feel that power pulling harder through the RPM range, and the shifts were snappier, faster, and more firm. And although we did hit sub 5 seconds, 0 to 60 in sport mode, you can definitely see that the car shifts way earlier than necessary. Like in manual mode, we know the power range or the power band goes all the way up to 7,500 RPM. When you're in automatic, it shifts significantly earlier than that. I would say 7,071 or 200 RPM. We know in manual mode that we can wind second gear out and tap 60 mile per hour, not having to go into third to complete those pulls. But in this case, it shifts way before. It hits third gear way before 60 mile an hour. And we can take a closer look at those draggy pulls, and you can see exactly where indeed it does shift, but it's just something to note. Overall, I thought it was an interesting experiment. I've always kind of wanted to know numbers-wise what the difference was between the modes, particularly sport mode and standard. You can definitely feel the difference in the butt dyno, but it's not the same as actually getting those numbers out in front of you. So, pretty interesting experiment. Waste of time to do a 0 to 60 in eco mode or snow mode. Not even going to worry about it. It's slow. You definitely don't want to forget about the giveaway, guys. We are going live on Instagram, myself and Jalisco's Carbon Fiber, on Sunday, December 27th. Usually we go on about 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, but we'll have more announcements coming up as the day gets a little bit closer. But we will give you the final details on how to enter this giveaway for, again, the Draggy device, the LED shop light, from Jalisco's. You can choose between an M-style spoiler for the G or the Q platform, or $100 off a custom steering wheel. So make sure you're sticking around, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're following both of us on Instagram. Again, December 27th is when we're going to go live. We'll give the final entry details, and then the winner will be announced later that evening or early the following morning. So make sure you guys are subscribed and following along. I appreciate the continued support. We'll see you in the next video.